Dr. Hahn is a renowned Bible scholar and Catholic convert. In the 80s, Scott and his wife Kimberly were part of a wave of famous Catholic converts from Protestantism, including Jerry Matitix, who they won't mention anymore. Dr. Hahn, an evangelical pastor and staunch anti-Catholic. I remember I've been asking for decades. I started asking then, and I continue to ask now. Show me anything these men wrote or recorded, any debates they did against Roman Catholicism when they were Protestants. Crickets for nearly 3 decades now. Crickets for nearly 3 decades. So this staunch anti-Catholic, well, his attitude, okay, right, okay, had a radical conversion to Catholicism. He began to speak about his experience, and one of his talks was recorded, passed around on cassette tape. His incredible story began to draw others toward the ancient faith. The popularity of Scott and Kimberly's stories touched off a massive wave of Catholic conversions and encouraged the pair to write a book based on their experience called Rome Sweet Home. Do not read Rome Sweet Home, he says. I think it's one of the worst convert stories I've ever read. It is, as someone once said, if you have diabetes, do not read Jonathan Edwards, who constantly uses the term sweetness because it'll put you into a coma. Well, I would call Rome Sweet Home bubblegummy. It's bubblegummy. For someone who is serious in their faith, it's not. And you can go back in the archives again, Sermon Audio. We've reviewed a number of Hahn books over the years, especially that one on Mary, which was just horrific. Not only its argumentation and research, but in its the names that it used for chapters. It was just terrible. So notice one of the things he said is, I had no idea this kind of thing even happened. Well, that's one of the problems. Modern evangelicals do not know why they are not Roman Catholics, and most of them on their soteriology have already capitulated to Roman Catholicism on the basic issues. And so they're swimming around the middle of the Tiber. They just don't know it. The only reason they're not Roman Catholics is a matter of taste. They don't know what the issues are. They've never read any history. They don't know where they stand in history. They haven't studied the issues of the Reformation or anything like that. So obviously this guy is someone who did not have any grounding as a Protestant. That's what he's telling us here. Is I didn't know why I was what I was. I just was. And when I found out there was something else, it's all a matter of taste anyways, so why not? There you go. And that is then proven by the next point he makes. Don't read church history. And he mentions a book that he did choose to read, Dear Maid McCulloch's Reformation. And again, because he doesn't have any background, he says McCulloch describes the history of the Reformation with sometimes mind-numbingly minute detail. It's truly a thick slog, and you could begin thesis work based on any of the small subsections McCulloch includes. It was a decidedly academic text, but as a result, gives you an intensive overview of why the Protestant reformers split from the Catholic Church in the 16th century and what was happening in culture and society which underpinned it all. But reading church history is dangerous, and he starts talking about the political aspects and all the rest of it. Again, sounds like that was the first book you ever read on the subject. So here you're talking about somebody never committed, never grounded. How many times have you heard us say that if you are a Protestant and you do not know why you reject Roman Catholicism, you need to find out why. Because right now you're a Protestant of taste and convenience, not of conviction. I can tell you one thing. Everybody who went with us on the Reformation tour in 2017 would read this section and just go, not even close, buddy. Because there are lots of us over here on this side of the Tiber that well know why we're here, well know all about the warts of the Reformation, but I wonder how much, was this book clear on the reality of the Roman system at that time. It seems like he talks about the Counter-Reformation. They really got things cleaned up. Yeah, they do an excellent job of cleaning things up. Have you read Out of the Vatican Closet? Came out just a couple months ago. I mean, the name by name by name, witness by witness by witness, hierarchy in the Vatican homosexuality book, all about the Lavender Mafia and everything else, which is, it's not even being argued anymore. That's the reality. You might want to read that. Then he says, don't read the early church fathers. Well, Thursday night, for the Thursday night Renew class for Apologia Church this week, we will be reading portions from Clement's letter to the Romans, the Didache, Ignatius's genuine epistles, and there was one other, at least 4 different sections we're going to be reading directly from the early church fathers. And again, all this tells me is this fellow had never been grounded where he was a surface level convenience non-Catholic who's now a Catholic. That ain't much of a conversion. Sorry, that isn't much of a conversion. That's not surprising. If you weren't already committed to the gospel of justification, imputed righteousness, if you didn't understand those things, I'm not